Have you ever wondered why growing older feels so different from what you imagined when you were young? When we were younger, we thought getting older meant having more answers. But for many people, it simply brings quieter questions. Questions we never had time to ask. Questions like, have I spent my life on what truly mattered? Did I love enough? What should I let go of before it's too late? If those questions have ever crossed your mind, I want you to know you're not alone. Right now, people from all across America and from many other parts of the world are listening with you. Some are 60, some are 70, some are well into their 80s, each carrying a different story, each carrying joys, regrets, losses, hopes, and lessons that only time could teach. Before we begin, may I ask you something? Not because there's a right answer, but because every life holds a wisdom that no book can ever replace. If you feel comfortable, tell us your age and one lesson life has taught you that you wish you had learned much earlier. It doesn't have to be profound. Sometimes the smallest lessons leave the deepest footprints on the heart. And while you're there, take a moment to read someone else's story. You may discover that a stranger's words arrive at exactly the moment your heart needed them. That is the beautiful thing about this community. We come here not as teachers, not as experts, but as fellow travelers, walking the same road, just at different seasons of life. For more than 2,000 years, Buddhist wisdom has gently reminded us that growing older is not a punishment. It is not the slow disappearance of who we are. It is an invitation to become lighter, kinder, wiser, and more deeply at peace. Today, we'll explore 6 timeless lessons that have quietly guided generations of people through life's later chapters. These lessons won't ask you to become someone new. Instead, they may help you remember the person you have always been beneath the noise, beneath the worries, beneath the endless expectations of the world. So, wherever you are, take one slow breath. Let this moment belong only to you. And together, let's begin. The first lesson may also be the hardest, not because it is complicated, but because it asks us to loosen our grip on things we've carried for far too long. As human beings, we become attached. We hold on to memories. We hold on to expectations. We hold on to old mistakes, old disappointments, old versions of ourselves. Sometimes, without even realizing it, we spend more time living in yesterday than we do appreciating today. Have you ever caught yourself replaying the same conversation over and over again, wondering what you should have said or what you should have done differently? Most of us have. It is one of the quiet habits of the human mind. But Buddhist wisdom gently reminds us that we cannot change yesterday, no matter how many times we revisit it. The past can teach us. It can shape us, but it should never become the place where we choose to live. Think about a tree. At the end of autumn, it never argues with the leaves that are ready to fall. It never clings to what the season has already finished. It simply lets go, not because it has given up, but because it trusts that making space today is what allows new life to appear tomorrow. Perhaps our hearts are meant to learn the very same lesson. There are burdens that once served a purpose, responsibilities that made us stronger, dreams that helped us become who we are, but not everything is meant to stay with us forever. Some things must be thanked before they are released, not with anger, not with regret, but with gratitude. Maybe you've been carrying guilt for a decision you made years ago. Maybe you've been holding on to words someone spoke that still echo in your heart. Or perhaps you've spent far too many years trying to become the person everyone else expected you to be. Take a slow breath and ask yourself, what am I still carrying that no longer belongs in my life? Don't rush the answer. Some questions need silence before they reveal the truth. The beautiful thing about letting go is that it doesn't happen all at once. It happens one thought at a time, one memory at a time, one quiet act of forgiveness at a time. And sometimes, the first person we need to forgive is ourselves, not because we were perfect, but because we were human, because we made decisions with the understanding we had at that moment, because we stumbled, because we learned, because that is what every life has always been, a journey, not a performance. If today there is one burden you are finally ready to set down, hold that thought close. You don't have to share every detail, but if you feel comfortable, tell us only this. What is one thing you're learning to let go of? Perhaps it is fear. Perhaps it is regret. Perhaps it is the need to please everyone. Your words may quietly remind someone else that healing often begins the moment we discover we are not carrying our burdens alone, because every heart, no matter how strong, becomes lighter when it finally gives itself permission to let go. As we grow older, something quietly changes, not only in our bodies, but in the way we see the world. The things that once seemed urgent no longer deserve our attention. The arguments, the endless need to explain ourselves, the pressure to impress people who are never truly listening. Little by little, we begin to understand that peace is not something we accidentally find. It is something we choose again and again. When you were younger, you probably had more energy than time. Now, you may have more wisdom than energy, and that changes everything. It teaches you that every conversation, every relationship, every decision either protects your peace or quietly steals it. Think about the people who leave you feeling calm. Notice how different your heart feels after spending time with them. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to become someone else just to be accepted. Now, think about the opposite. The people who leave you feeling exhausted. The conversations you replay for hours afterward. The relationships that ask for everything but offer very little in return. Life has a gentle way of asking us an important question. Is this worth the peace I'm giving away? That question becomes more valuable with every passing year. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that suffering often begins when we cling to what we cannot control. We cannot control how other people speak, how they think, how they judge us, or whether they choose to understand us. But we can choose how much space we allow those things to occupy inside our own hearts. That choice is freedom. Many people believe protecting your peace means shutting the world out. It doesn't. It means opening your heart without leaving the door unlocked. For every storm that passes by, compassion does not require constant sacrifice. Kindness does not require constant exhaustion. Sometimes the kindest thing you can say is a gentle no. Not because you've stopped caring, but because you have finally learned to care for your own heart as well. There's an old saying, you cannot pour tea from an empty cup. The same is true for love, for patience, for compassion. If your spirit is constantly drained, what will remain? To give those who truly need you. Perhaps that is why peace is not selfish. It is responsible. It allows you to become a calmer parent, a kindergrandparent, a more patient friend, a wiser human being. Take a quiet moment and think about your own life. Where do you feel the most peaceful? Who helps your heart become lighter? And what situations always leave you feeling smaller than you truly are? Don't answer too quickly. Sometimes the heart whispers long before the mind understands. If one person came into your thoughts while listening to this lesson, Perhaps there's a reason. You don't have to mention their name. But if you feel comfortable, finish this simple sentence. My peace became stronger when I finally learned to underscore your words may become the encouragement someone else has been searching for without even knowing it. Because sometimes one honest sentence can change the direction of another person's life. And perhaps protecting your peace isn't about building walls. Perhaps it's simply about learning which doors no longer need to remain open. There's a quiet habit that steals more peace than almost anything else. It is the habit of living somewhere other than where we are. Our bodies may be sitting peacefully in a chair, yet our minds are traveling backward to conversations that ended years ago, or racing forward to tomorrow's worries, to next month's problems, to fears that may never become reality. How many beautiful mornings have slipped away because our thoughts were somewhere else? How many peaceful evenings have we missed because we were still arguing with someone inside our own minds? The present moment is surprisingly fragile. It doesn't shout for our attention. It waits patiently, like the warmth of sunlight, resting quietly on the floor, like the gentle sound of rain against a window, like the laughter of a grandchild that lasts only a few seconds before becoming a memory. Life is always happening. Here. Not yesterday. Not tomorrow. Here. Right now. Buddhist wisdom has always pointed to this simple truth. The mind suffers when it refuses to arrive. Perhaps that sounds simple, but think about it. How often have you finished a meal without remembering its taste? How often have you watched a sunset while worrying about something that never happened? How often has someone you love spoken to you while your mind was somewhere else entirely? The older we become, the more precious our moments become, not because there are fewer of them, but because we finally understand they cannot be replaced. No amount of money can buy back one forgotten afternoon, one missed embrace, one conversation we were too distracted to truly hear. Presence is one of the greatest gifts we can offer another person. When someone feels completely heard, they also feel completely seen. And isn't that what every human heart has always wanted? Not to be admired, not to be envied, simply to be understood. Today, try something beautifully simple. The next time you drink a cup of coffee or tea, don't reach for your phone. Don't rush to the next task. Just notice the warmth in your hands, the gentle aroma, the first sip, the second, the quiet between them. You may discover that peace has been waiting there all along, not hidden inside extraordinary experiences, but quietly resting inside ordinary moments. We've been moving too quickly to notice. If this lesson reminds you to slow down, perhaps share one small moment that brought you peace recently. Maybe it was watching birds outside your window, walking beneath old trees, hearing the voice of someone you love, or simply sitting in silence without feeling the need to fill it. Sometimes the smallest moments become the biggest blessings, and when we share them, we gently remind one another that a meaningful life is not built from extraordinary days. It is built from ordinary moments, fully lived. As your life continues, there will always be reasons to worry, always memories trying to pull you backward, always uncertainty waiting somewhere ahead. But peace will always be found in exactly the same place. This breath, this heartbeat, this moment, nothing more, nothing less. There is one promise, that life is never broken. Everything changes, the seasons, the weather, our bodies, our relationships, even the person we see when we look into the mirror. And yet, so much of our suffering comes from wishing that change would simply stop. We hold tightly to the way things used to be. We compare today with 10 years ago, 20 years ago, sometimes even 50 years ago. We remember stronger legs, sharper memories, busier homes, louder dinner tables, the voices of people we loved echoing through familiar rooms. And without realizing it, we begin measuring today's life against yesterday's memories. But memories were never meant to become prisons. They were meant to become teachers. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that change is not life working against us. Change is life itself. Imagine standing beside a river. You never step into the same river twice. The water keeps moving. The current keeps flowing. And yet, the river never stops being a river. Our lives are much the same. Our faces change. Our bodies change. Our roles change. But beneath all those changes, something much deeper remains: the quiet awareness that has watched every chapter of your life unfold. It watched you as a child. It watched you fall in love. It watched you become a parent. It watched you say goodbye to people you never imagined losing. And today, it is still here, watching, learning, growing. Perhaps we spend too much time mourning who we used to be instead of appreciating who we have become, because every wrinkle carries a story, every scar holds a lesson, every gray hair is evidence that we kept moving forward even when life became difficult. There is nothing shameful about growing older. The shame would be reaching the end of life without ever learning what it was trying to teach us. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this season trying to teach me?" That single question can change everything. It changes frustration into curiosity, resistance into acceptance, fear into understanding. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means stopping the fight against reality, because reality has never been our enemy. It has always been our greatest teacher. Perhaps there is a change you've been resisting, a new chapter, a goodbye, a zrower pace, a life that looks different from the one you once imagined. If so, know this: you're not alone. Every person listening today has faced or is facing their own season of change. And perhaps that is why we understand one another better than we realize. If you feel comfortable, finish this sentence: the greatest change that taught me the most was, you don't need to explain everything. Sometimes one simple sentence carries enough truth to help someone else find the courage to keep moving forward. Remember, the tree never fears autumn. It knows that spring has never failed to return. And perhaps our hearts can learn to trust life with that same quiet confidence. There is a quiet truth that many people spend their entire lives searching for. We believe happiness is something we will finally reach after one more achievement, one more promotion, one more purchase, one more goal. And yet, have you ever noticed how quickly those moments fade? The new house eventually becomes just another house. The new car becomes an ordinary drive. Even our greatest accomplishments slowly become memories. Perhaps that is why so many people reach the later years of life feeling confused. They spent decades climbing the mountain, only to discover peace wasn't waiting at the top. Buddhist wisdom gently reminds us that joy has never been hiding at the end of the journey. It has been quietly walking beside us every single day. We simply forgot to notice it. Think about this morning. Did you notice the warmth of your coffee? The sound of birds outside your window? The smile of a stranger? The breeze touching your face? Or were those moments too ordinary to deserve your attention? The older we become, the more we begin to understand that life is not made of extraordinary moments. It is made of ordinary moments that become extraordinary only because we were present enough to appreciate them. Some of the happiest people I've ever met own very little, yet somehow they laugh more, smile more, worried less, not because life had been easier for them, but because they had learned to stop measuring life by what they possessed. Instead, they measured it by what they noticed: a quiet sunset, a phone call from an old friend, the laughter of grandchildren, the comfort of sitting beside someone without needing to say a single word. Those moments rarely appear on anyone's list of great achievements, yet they become the memories our hearts treasure most. Perhaps that is one of aging's greatest gifts. It slows us down just enough to finally see what was always there. Tonight, before you go to sleep, try something simple. Think of 3 things that made you smile today. Not the biggest moments, the smallest ones. Perhaps someone held a door open for you. Perhaps you enjoyed your favorite meal. Perhaps you simply looked up and noticed how beautiful the sky was. Small moments, quiet blessings. When we begin collecting those moments instead of collecting worries, our hearts become lighter, our minds become calmer, our lives become richer without owning anything more. If today's lesson brought one simple blessing to your mind, perhaps share it with us. Not because it is extraordinary, but because the ordinary moments shared by one person often become the gentle reminder another person needed to notice the beauty already waiting inside their own life. The happiest life is rarely the busiest one. It is the one that learns to pause, to notice, to be grateful, and to whisper, even on the most ordinary day, "This is enough." As we reach the later chapters of life, another question quietly begins to appear. It is not, "How much have I earned?" or "How successful have I been?" Instead, it is something much deeper. When people remember me, what will they remember? Will they remember the things we owned? Probably not. Will they remember our job titles, our achievements, or the size of our home? Perhaps for a little while, but those memories rarely last. What people carry with them for years is something far more meaningful. The way we made them feel, a gentle word, spoken at exactly the right moment, a patient ear when someone desperately needed to be heard, a hand offered without being asked, a kindness given without expecting anything in return. These are the things that quietly outlive us. Buddhist wisdom teaches that compassion is not something we do only when life is easy. It is a way of meeting the world, a way of seeing ourselves inside every other person. The older we become, the easier it is to recognize that every human being is carrying something invisible, a grief they never speak about, a fear they hide behind smile, a regret they quietly carry alone. Perhaps that impatient cashier hasn't slept all night. Perhaps that angry neighbor is fighting a battle no one else can see. Perhaps the stranger who never smiled back simply needed someone to understand without asking questions. When we remember this, our hearts become softer, not weaker, softer, and there is great strength in a gentle heart. But compassion must begin closer to home. It must begin with ourselves. Many people grow kinder toward others as they grow older, yet strangely, they become harsher toward themselves. They replay old mistakes. They criticize the person they used to be. They wonder if they should have done more, loved more, achieved more. If that sounds familiar, please hear this. You have survived every difficult season that life placed before you. You made decisions with the wisdom you had at that moment. You stumbled. You learned. You kept going. That deserves compassion too. Imagine speaking to yourself with the same kindness you would offer a dear friend. How different would your heart feel? How much lighter would your days become? Before you leave today, I'd like to ask you one final question, not for me, for everyone who will quietly read these words in the comments. If someone 20 years younger than you asks, what is the greatest lesson life has ever taught you? What would you say? Take a moment. There is no perfect answer, only an honest one. Perhaps your words will encourage someone who feels lost. Perhaps they'll comfort someone who is grieving. Perhaps they'll remind a stranger to call their parents, to forgive a brother, to spend one more afternoon with the people they love. Never underestimate the quiet power of your experience. Wisdom doesn't become valuable because it is old. It becomes valuable because it has been lived, and every year, every joy, every loss, every lesson has shaped a wisdom that belongs only to you. That is your gift. That is your legacy, not the things you leave behind, but the hearts you gently touch while you're still here. As our time together slowly comes to an end, I'd like to leave you with one final thought. Growing older is not something to fear. It is not a punishment. It is not life taking something away from you. Perhaps it is life gently removing everything that was never essential so you can finally see what has always mattered most. Today, we reflected on 6 simple lessons. To let go of what no longer serves you. To protect your peace as something precious. To live fully in the present moment. To welcome change instead of fearing it. To find joy in life's simplest gifts. And finally, to let compassion become your greatest legacy. None of these lessons can change yesterday, but every one of them has the power to change tomorrow, not through dramatic actions, not through perfect decisions, but through small, quiet, daily choices. Perhaps that is how every meaningful life is truly built, one peaceful choice at a time. Before we say goodbye, I'd like to ask you one last favor, not for this channel, not for me, but for someone you may never meet. If today's reflection touched your heart, would you leave one sentence in the comments? Just one. Complete this thought. The older I become, the more I realize it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to sound wise. Just let me be honest. Then, before you leave, take a moment to read a few comments from others. You may discover that someone living thousands of miles away has walked a path remarkably similar to your own. Perhaps their story will comfort you. Perhaps your story will comfort them. That is how wisdom has always traveled. One heart touching another, across generations, across countries, across lives. If these reflections have brought even a little peace into your day, I hope you'll join us again. There are many more conversations waiting for us, many more lessons to explore, and many more quiet moments to share together. Until then, be gentle with yourself, be patient with others, protect your peace, Treasure the people who make your heart feel at home. Don't wait for the perfect moment to say, I love you. Don't wait for tomorrow to enjoy today. Life has never promised us more time. It has only given us this moment. May your mornings begin with gratitude. May your afternoons be filled with purpose. May your evenings bring quiet contentment. May your heart grow lighter with every season. May your mind remain calm through every change. May kindness guide your words. May wisdom guide your choices. And may peace walk beside you wherever life leads you next. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until we meet again, take good care of your heart, because it is the most precious place you will ever call home.